Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we take up MCQs based on important articles and news from the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. Topics which we are going to cover today are displayed on your screen. Let's begin the discussion.
Now let's start our session with our first question, which is based on this article which appeared on page 3 in the Hindu newspaper. According to this article, a women group demanded the repeal of section 197 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, that is CRPC, along with the draconian Armed Forces Special Powers Act of 1958 in Assam. Now what is this Section 197? According to it, no court shall take cognizance of any offence alleged to have been committed by any members of the armed forces while acting or purporting to act in the discharge of its official duty, except with the previous sanction of the central government. Now, further details of this section have already been covered in yesterday's DNS. Now, as UPSC has been asking questions based on important acts or amendments, like this question based on Gram Nyayalaya Act came in 2016. So here we have curated practice question based on Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1958, and in this question you have to identify the correct statements. The first statement is, it empowers security forces to conduct operation and arrest anyone without any prior warrant, besides giving immunity from arrest and prosecution to the security forces if they shoot someone dead. Now this statement is correct, as this act gives unbridled powers to the armed forces to kill anyone acting in contravention of law, arrest and search any premises without a warrant, and protection from prosecution and legal suits without the central government sanction. Now let's come to the second statement. Currently, it applies to 4 states in the northeast, and those states are Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Meghalaya and Tripura. Now you should know that currently this act is applicable fully only in 31 districts and partially in 12 districts of 4 states in the northeast, and those states are Assam, Nagaland, Manipur and Arunachal Pradesh. The Armed Forces Special Powers Act 1958 was completely withdrawn in Meghalaya in 2018, Tripura in 2015, Mizoram in 1980s. So with this, our second statement is incorrect. Now let's come to the third statement. Only the Ministry of Home Affairs has the authority to notify areas under this act according to Section 3 of the Act. Now this statement is incorrect, as under Section 3 of this Act, state government and Ministry of Home Affairs have concurrent powers to notify areas under the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. So with this, our correct answer is option A, that is 1 only. Answer of this PYQ is option B. Now our next question is based on this article which appeared on page 8 in the Hindu newspaper. This article talks about Joshimath's geological settings together with the unplanned and rampant construction in and around the town has resulted in land subsidence. Now let's understand more about Joshimath's geological setting. This Joshimath is built on the deposits of an old landslide, which means that the slopes can be destabilized even by slight diggers. The town is also in Zone 5, which as per India's seismic zonation scheme denotes the highest risk. It lies between 2 thrusts, the MAINCENTRALTHRUST, that is MCT, and the VICEPRESIDENT, that is VT, and thus occupies a seismically active terrain. Now, as UPSC has been asking various questions based on Himalaya, so here we have taken practice question based on geophysical phenomena related to Himalayas. In this question, you have to identify the correct pairs from the options given below. Now, the first option is main central thrust. Now, during the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plate, 3 north-dipping geological fault lines were formed. These structures essentially separate the different rocky formations that characterize the different stages of Himalaya outcrop, the higher Himalayas, lesser Himalayas and sub-Himalayan Shivalik range. Now first is main central thrust, that is MCT. It is a dividing line between Great Himalayas and lesser Himalayas. So our first pair is incorrect. Now let's come to the next option, that is main boundary thrust. Main boundary thrust is a dividing line between lesser Himalayas and Shivaliks. So again, our second pair is incorrect as it talks about Great Himalayas and Lesser Himalayas. And the last option is MAINCENTRALTHRUST, that is a dividing line between Himalayan foothills, that is Shivaliks, and other plains, that is Terai region. So our third pair is correct. So with this, our correct answer is option D, that is 3 only. Answer of this PYQ is option B, that is 2 only. Now our next question is based on this article which featured on page 8 in the Hindu newspaper. According to this article, recently Union Cabinet has approved the setting of 3 national level multi-state cooperative societies to act as an apex body for procurement, processing, marketing and distribution of seeds. Now why we have taken that article? As UPSC has been asking various questions on cooperative structure in India. Like in 2021, they have asked about urban cooperative bank. So here we have curated practice question based on multi-state cooperative seed society, and in this you have to identify the correct statements. The first is these societies would be established under the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002. Now this statement is correct as recently Union Cabinet has approved setting up of a national level multi-state cooperative seed society under Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002, and also primary to national level cooperative societies including primary, district, state and national level federation and multi-state cooperative society can become its member. Now let's come to the second statement. All these cooperatives will have their nominated representatives in the board of the society as per its bylaws. Now this statement is incorrect as all these cooperatives will have their elected representatives in the board of the society as per its bylaws. So here our correct answer is option A, that is 1 only. Answer of this PYQ is option B, that is 2 and 3 only. Now our next question is based on this article which is about Indian skimmer, and let's understand more about it with the help of MCQ, as UPSC has been asking questions based on important species. Like in 2020, they have asked about Indian elephants. Now let's come to the practice question. Here you have to identify the correct statements with respect to Indian skimmers. The first statement is the bird comes under the endangered category of International Union for Conservation of Nature. Now this statement is correct as it comes under endangered category of IUCN. Now let's come to the second statement. It is found in the coastal estuaries of eastern India only. Now this statement is incorrect as Indian skimmer is found in the coastal estuaries of western and eastern India. In India, the species can be sighted near the Chambal River in central India, in few parts of Odisha Mahanadi, and in Andhra Pradesh Godavari estuary primarily. Now let's come to the third statement. The government of India has launched the Guardians of the Skimmer program to conserve the species. Now this statement is incorrect as in 2020, Bombay Natural History Society have initiated a Guardians of the Skimmer program, which are community-based conservation initiative. So with this, our correct answer is option C, that is 1 only. Answer of this PYQ is option A. Now our next question based on this article which featured on page 1 in the Indian Express. According to this article, recently Vice President again brought up the striking down of the NJSE, that is National Judicial Appointments Commission Act, as a case of judicial overreach. He also noted that it was in 1973 in the Keshav Nanda Bharti case that the Supreme Court evolved for the first time the rights of the courts to strike down constitution amendments that violated what is called the basic structure or the fundamental architecture of the constitution. Questions based on Keshav Nanda Bharti case we have already covered in our previous Daily Prelims Practice session. Now, as UPSC has been asking questions based on important positions like President, Governor, Chairman, so on the similar line we have curated practice question on Vice President of India, and in this question you have to identify the correct statements. So the first statement is the Constitution provides for its removal on the grounds of violation of Constitution. Now, notably, no ground has been mentioned in the Constitution for its removal. It is the President of India who can be removed from his office by a process of impeachment for violation of the Constitution. So our first statement is incorrect. Now let's come to the second statement. He can be removed from the House by a majority of 50% of total membership. Now, according to Article 67B, a Vice President may be removed from his office by a resolution of the Council of States passed by a majority of all the then members of the Council and agreed to by the House of the People, but no resolution for the purpose of this clause shall be moved unless at least 14-day notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. Now, what is the difference between majority of 50% of total membership and all the then by members of the council? Now, this is known as effective majority and this one is absolute majority. Now, what is effective majority? Basically, it translates to a majority that is 50% of effective strength. For example, presently there are 245 seats in Rajya Sabha, out of which 5 are vacant. This means the effective strength of Rajya Sabha will be 240. That is deduction of 5 seats from total seats, that is 245. So, the effective majority will be 50% of 240, that is 120 will be the effective majority. But absolute majority talks about 50% of total membership, that is 50% of 245 seats. Also, effective majority is also used for the removal of Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. So, with this, our second statement is incorrect. So, our correct answer is option D, that is neither 1 nor 2. Answer of this PYQ is option B. That is 2 only. Now, our last question is based on this article, which appeared on page 5 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about white-tufted royal butterfly, a rare species found in Kerala's Kannur. The species had also been spotted in Agastyakuram and Shendurni Wildlife Sanctuary. This butterfly is protected under Schedule 2 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Now, as UPSC has been asking questions based on National Park Wildlife Sanctuary, like in 2018, they have asked question on Pakui Wildlife Sanctuary. So on the similar line, we have curated practice question on Shendurni Wildlife Sanctuary. So according to this question, you have to identify that Shendurni Wildlife Sanctuary is located in which among the following states of India. Now, Shendurni Wildlife Sanctuary is a protected area in Western Ghats located in Kollam district, Kerala, and it is a part of Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve. The sanctuary derives its name from Cherenkunji, a tree endemic to the region. So with this, a correct answer is option D, that is Kerala. Answer of this PYQ is option A.
That's all for today. Stay tuned for more such updates.